Do you have a favorite guitar that your grandfather gave you or something like that?
No, my grandfather was a farmer.
Oh,
Uh,
he
he didn't
your
play
grandfather
guitar.
wasn't Pete Seeger?
No, he wasn't.
Oh,
That's a favorite. My wife gave me that on I think for my 50th birthday. It's a 1930s Gibson acoustic. It's pretty special.
nice, nice. Yeah,
Well,
I guess
speaking of acoustic, the new songs for the new project, the ones that you have put out, there's we have acoustic vibes. What was the decision to go that direction?
I mean, it's how the band started. It's been a big staple of our live shows forever. We always do a section in the show where we gather around a single mic or a couple of mics and play new interpretations, stripped down versions of songs, very vocal harmony focused and acoustic instrument focused. We've done it with a few records. A couple of records, we did the whole record acoustically. Um, Fake Nudes, I think we maybe did 10 tracks, and for In Flight, we did 7 or 8. Um, but I think it's part of the essence of the band. It's the way the songs start. It's always me on acoustic guitar, just singing the melody and building some harmonies out. It's the essence of the song, and I think it's interesting for us to reapproach them in that way and for people to hear them uh, simple like that.
the question you always ask when you make an acoustic offshoot of an already existing album is how do you pick which songs make the acoustic EP and which songs don't? I mean, obviously there's instrumentation purposes, but I mean, was it obvious to you which ones were?
We we're incredibly democratic when it comes to deciding the songs that go on a record, the songs that we play in a live show. It's really just we start talking. Hey, what do you feel like playing? Oh, I want to do this one. Oh, I want to do this one. And we come up with a list. Uh, it's funny, of this list, I think almost everything was obvious. It was stuff that we tracks that we all really love from the record that we thought would sit well in this setting. The one that was kind of a joke was One Night, because it's such a banger and such an electric guitar hook driven song. Just I started goofing around with it in a bluegrass feel, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's fun." Um, so that was one we hadn't really discussed even doing, and it kind of happened last minute because it was such a different take on the song.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one thing that we didn't do a proper intro, obviously, but it's Jordan and Demi. We're here with Ed Robertson from Barenaked Ladies. New tour, new acoustic EP coming up, like all the stuff. Um, do you still get excited about? How do you feel about tours now that you've been at it for all these years? Do you get anxious? Do you get excited? Is it old hat? Like, how do you approach a tour now that you've been doing it so
Um,
long?
I used to get um, definitely anxious before a tour and focused way too much on the logistics of the tour and the like worrying in advance at how much the grind of the tour was going to make me tired and overwhelmed. And um, I have never slept well on a tour bus in almost, we're coming up on 40 years of touring. I've never slept well on a tour bus. So leading up to a tour, I'd be like, oh, I've got to be on the bus for months and it's slowly going to get the better of me. I'll be more and more tired. I'm going to have to be really careful. And I used to really focus on that. And the last number of years, I've been much better at just going like, wow, I still get to do this.
Yeah, people still want to pay money to come see us in concert.
I
Yeah,
am so lucky.
yeah,
Um, and I will admit a small part of what has made me look forward to touring is how I've been getting there lately. And that is, I've been flying myself around on tour.
Oh.
And that has eliminated the no sleep on a tour bus. So generally, I stay over after the show and then I fly myself the next morning. I have a little Cirrus SR-22 turbo aircraft, and
Wait, pause. Are you actually driving the plane? Like, are we missing something here?
yeah, I'm the pilot.
Wow.
It's
What?
it's super fun. It's removed the grind of the tour and added this thing that I love to do, which is flying. I've been flying for over 20 years.
Do you have like a Snoopy scarf? Like a
Yeah, it's an old biplane, and I wear the goggles and the leather hat and let the scarf trail behind me
nice,
as I
nice.
as I barnstorm my way across
Out of
Yeah.
every story we've heard about artists touring on this show, I think this is the most rock star concept and story of touring that we've had,
And I
right,
like
Jordan?
that I like that you point out that this is not a private jet. You don't have like a, this is not
No.
one of those situations.
Yeah, it's I'm not the Bruce Dickinson of quirky alt rock. Um, yeah, I'm flying a little single engine plane with 5 seats in it. I often take one of the guys or one of the crew folks
Are
along
they
for the ride.
voluntarily going, or do you have to be like, "Hey guys"?
Well, it I offer it every day, but most of the time, because they all sleep well on the bus, so they just want to get on the bus after the show and go to bed and wake up where they need to be. Whereas I go to a hotel, I stay over, I get up at like 8 in the morning the next morning, having slept well in a hotel. And the tour's designed for driving, right? So the drives are 5 to 10 hours. So for me, that's only like an hour to an hour and a half flight.
Wow.
So I end up being in the venue the same time they are, because they roll off the bus at 11 or 11:30, and that's when I'm getting to the venue. So it's fun.
Wow, wow. Um, I
Wait, so I guess you're not like getting too lit after, like during shows and stuff like that because you
have
have to
you
fly.
listened to the music? Yeah, he's not a. There's not a whole lot of debauchery going on.
I'm actually, I have always been a non-drinker, even before I started flying. I'm, yeah, what I don't even know what it's called. Am I a straight edge guy? I'm
I
not
think
sober
straight edge
though. I
is
just
sounds
never
cooler than
started.
sober. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm not a recovering alcoholic.
Responsible.
I just never
responsible. Yeah.
started.
Uh, you guys got different supporting acts throughout the tour, Guster and Sugar Ray. I was wondering, is have you experienced Mark McGrath on tour before? I can see there's a lot of like vanity going on. Um, have you been on tour with Sugar Ray before? Have you experienced that?
We have done shows with those guys, but never toured with them. Mark is a lovely guy, and we've been messaging back and forth in prep for the tour. So I'm looking forward to it. Like those guys have been around a long time, like we have. We just did a show together in Sun Valley, Idaho, for the World Downhill Ski Championships, and they were
As one
so
does, as one
yeah,
does. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Oh, he did, by the way, did a great job as a narrator doing those Dark Side of the '90s documentaries. He did. Anyway,
oh,
yeah, yeah,
thanks.
yeah. He does like a whole. He's a narrator. But anyway, I beyond the goofy stuff. One thing that's interesting about your career is that you had um, sort of the early days, the indie days, and then like the big major hit days. And I think that's an interesting career path to have. We brought this up occasionally, but Demi has been mentored by Suzanne Vega, and Suzanne had a similar path of having like an indie part to her career, and
Yeah,
then a
like
top
a
40
old
part.
indie rocker that all of a sudden had a number one hit.
Yeah, yeah. So Was it intent? Was there like a band meeting that said, Gordon's great, we love playing to these, we love doing our live shows and everyone, but like what we really need to do is conquer MTV and VH1. Was there like a decision that like let's do that, or did it just like materialize?
Um, our manager pleaded with us for years to remove what he called the left turns from all of our songs and shows, and it just never happened. We were like, well, that's what makes us who we are, and that's what makes the songs interesting to us, and we never really changed to conform to a more palatable or easier to explain or categorize thing. Um, so I think success was a long time coming for us. I think we sort of had to convince people one at a time. Um, we just we just played live so much. We kind of had a dress rehearsal for success in the early 90s in Canada. We were the biggest band that had ever happened in Canada. And so when things started to build in America, we kind of knew the feeling already. And I think, it still throws you for a loop, but we were a little better prepared for it because we had been a huge band in a small country.
It feels like 1 week would be one of those deals where the record company thought it was too weird to be a single and you guys believed in it. One of those deals.
The
Is it
exact opposite.
opposite?
I thought that song would either not be on the record at all or be like a bonus track or a B-side or something. And so when Sue Drew, who was the head of A&R at Sire Reprise at the time, when she phoned me when I submitted all the demos for Stunt, and she said, we want to lead with 1 week, I actually thought she was making fun of me. I thought she was saying, your stupid song is not even going to be on this record. I laughed out loud when she said it. So it was the exact opposite. The record company fully believed in it. And we were like, that song is ridiculous.
The late 90s were weird, man.
It's true.
I
And
always find that interesting too. You never know if you see some of my favorite artists like Central C. He's a rapper from the UK, and my favorite song. I went and looked at his at the album like yesterday, and I was like, wait, this song wasn't a single. It was also like number 9 on the album, but it was his biggest song that like got him a major label record deal. So I always find that
the
interesting.
other
You
the
never
other
know.
biggest thing in my whole career is something I ran out of time to do. So I didn't do it. I was going to call them and say, I'm sorry I didn't have time to write this, but I've got lots of friends who are great writers. They could turn something around really quickly. And I said to my wife, I got to call this guy, Chuck Lorre, and tell him I didn't have time to write this theme song. And she goes, do you mean Chuck Lorre? And I said, I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. And she said, you should Google him before you make that call. So I did. I had 20 minutes before I had to call Chuck Lorre and tell him that I hadn't written the theme song for The Big Bang Theory. So
Uh,
instead, I wrote the theme song for The Big Bang Theory and emailed it to Chuck, called him, and he said, oh, yeah, it's great. Love it.
And
So,
this is a guy who, for those who don't know, Chuck Lorre also worked on the theme song to the Ninja Turtles, original Ninja Turtles cartoon. So he had known
wow.
a thing or two about theme songs. Um,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Luckily, I knew none of that. I was blissfully unaware and just burnt out from touring like a madman. And so, yeah, I wrote the song in 10 minutes, recorded it in 5, sent it 5 minutes before the call, and it eclipsed everything else in my career.
Yeah, I was going to think between the Barenaked Ladies hits and the Big Bang Theory theme, I feel like the percentage of the American population who has heard your voice has got to be like 80-90%.
Yeah. And 78 other countries.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's because 1 week was a #1 hit internationally, and the Big Bang Theory theme song was like having a #1 hit twice a year for 15 years.
And in an era when there aren't many big theme songs like there used to be,
Yeah,
although
it
kind
was
of the whole point of the Big
one
Bang
of the
Theory
last
theme is that it's
ones.
so short.
Yeah, it was kind of one of the last big shiny theme songs, and they kind of went away after that.
Did
I
you? So
killed it.
you had no? Did you have anything to work with? Did you have a script? Like, what did you have to go off of?
They sent a pilot. As I mentioned, I'm also a pilot.
Mm.
Um, they sent a pilot for the original show, and they sent a mock-up of what the opening credits were going to look like. And they said, what we want is a brief history of absolutely everything in 30 seconds. So I nerded out on it.
Are you a science nerd? Are you like a geek?
I
Or
am, yeah.
well,
I'm kind of a tech and science nerd.
I guess the meteorology and the plane. I guess it all kind of works together.
Yeah.
What do you think about Katy Perry going to space?
Well, she put the ass back in astronaut. I think that's what she said, didn't she? Uh, I think it's great. I mean, Katy Perry. We just did an event that she was also at a few days before us. But I was able to watch her do her thing in a stadium, and it blew my mind. Why not Katy Perry in space?
Yeah.
Why not?
But
You
see,
know,
I think it was a missed opportunity. If you're going to send celebrities into space, um, like have them make something, do something in that 3 or 4 minutes of weightlessness. Like, I think if you're going to put up celebrities, put up like I thought, set up a K-pop group that could record like a live version of one of their songs during that thing. Like,
Mm.
well,
um,
check this out. I have a really good pal who was the commander of the International Space Station for 6 months. We've been friends for 30 years. And Commander Chris Hadfield reached out to me before he went up to the ISS. He said, I'm going to be there for 6 months. So I want to record a record while I'm up there. Will you help me write a song about that experience? And so while he was training at Baikonur Air Base in Kazakhstan, we emailed snippets back and forth, and we came up with this song, ISS. And he recorded his parts on the ISS, and BNL recorded our parts in a studio in Toronto. And then we played it live while he was in space, and we were in the studio in Toronto. So you can find that on YouTube. Look up Barenaked Ladies with Chris Hadfield. And we recorded a song while he was on the International Space Station.
yeah, wow, that's and it didn't quite eclipse his David Bowie cover.
No, which
But
was spectacular.
yeah. And I don't know what the status is. Is it permanently off YouTube or on? I haven't checked in a while, but I remember they had kind of taken it back and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know, but he just texted me to see if I want to go to the hockey game on Thursday night.
All right. All right.
So he's a good pal.
Are you Leafs fan?
Yes, I live
I
in
didn't
Toronto.
I didn't want to assume. I didn't want to assume.
Well,
Like
you can assume
okay.
they
I'm
they
assuming you're a Leafs
they
fan.
just won the Stanley Cup. They're coming hot off their 1967 Stanley Cup victory,
Mhm.
just a short 3 years before I was born. So they've got the momentum behind them.
Now it's kind of been a joke over the last several years, but maybe it's not a joke to you. The lack of Canadian teams winning the cup in general is that a source of like a little bit of a Canadian little thorn in the side of the country?
It's not at all for me. I think it is for some people, but all those incredible American teams are filled with incredible Canadian hockey players. So
But it's still
uh,
strange that
That's
it's become so lopsided in?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of amazing European talent, Russian talent. It's a much more international game. It used to be solely dominated by Canada and parts of the northern U.S. But when the Canadian teams are out, we just cheer for the Canadian stars on the teams.
I just heard
Okay.
it in out when you said out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm Canadian.
It's funny. Demi has been spending time in the UK, and she'll come back and she'll have just a tad of like a little British lilt
Oh,
to her.
no.
Yeah.
sometimes it's just in the sayings, right? You're like, oh, I'm never going to say mate, but then you're there with people for months and you start saying the things they say.
Yeah. 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 Are you a Blue Jays fan too? Because I got my Royals. Do you care about baseball?
I spotted it. I peeped the Royals
Yeah.
early on in the call. Yeah, I cheer for all of our Toronto teams, even
Yeah.
the TFC,
Yeah. And
our soccer.
are you a CN Tower fan or it's ugly person?
Both. It is completely iconic late 70s brutalist bizarre structure, and I love it. It's both. We actually have a song on the new record, In Flight, See the Tower, that is about the CN Tower.
Yeah, it's a strange landmark to kind of, you know.
Yeah, but and yet it's so iconic. There's nothing else that looks like it, and
Yeah.
it's hideous and wonderful.
First of all, I want to shout out my mom. If I had $1 million, is one of her favorite songs. So my mom is watching on YouTube. So I
What's
this
up, Mom?
um but we talked about the whole like sort of the indie Canadians and then the top four, the more once you were on kind of onto the American VH1 MTV 1 week, it's all been done, all that stuff. Did you feel kind of I miss the old days? Was that did that ever creep in, or were you like full steam ahead embracing it?
Again, kind of both. Like, there's something wonderful about touring in a van with all your gear, and if you're lucky, one crew person who's kind of acting as front of house sound, stage manager, tour manager, which is what we did. We went across Canada 3 times like that, and all through America once with 2 crew guys in a van. And really amazing, hilarious things happen when you do that, and you build kind of core memories as a unit, and you learn your craft, and ridiculous things constantly happen to you. But I don't want to go back to doing that. Like, there's a romanticism for that lean, hungry time. But in some ways, we get to revisit it when we go tour in the UK and play much smaller venues and stay at much crappier places. It's kind of like the rapidly approaching good old days visits us when we tour in the UK.
Is there a country or region of the world that's really into the Barenaked Ladies that we wouldn't know? Like, are you guys huge in Hungary or something that like are okay?
No,
Oh,
we are. America is our biggest market. We have always done well in the UK, but it's a smaller scale. And of course, at home in Canada. We often get messages from people, oh, you absolutely have to come to Norway. We are huge fans. And I'm like, you will be the only people at our show. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's a secret stronghold of Barenaked Ladies fans outside of those places. If there is, we're on our way.
yeah.
What's the most interesting or memorable like fan experience you guys have had?
Yeah, what are Barenaked Ladies fans like?
Um, Okay, well, I'll answer that first. What are Barenaked Ladies fans like? Every band in the world says they have the greatest fans. I think we're one of very few bands that other bands tell us we have the greatest fans. Um, and I think that means we actually have the greatest fans. Um, because when we tour with other artists, they always tell us, like, your fans are so amazing. Like, they do the research, they figure out who's opening for you, and they learn their music, and they're like really welcoming to other bands, and they know that we've kind of curated who we're going to play with, and that we think our audience will like them. And so that's why I think we have the best fans. Also because they're game. Like, we go out and we make stuff up and we improvise music, and sometimes it's a train wreck and the audience just laughs right along with us. And I think that's been a part of our shows all along. People come to expect the unexpected, and it's part of why we're kind of fearless performers, I think, is because we're not afraid of messing up in front of the crowd, and we know that they're there with us. As to what's the weirdest thing that's ever happened,
Mm-hmm.
I've been on the road approaching 40 years, so everything has happened.
Oh wow.
It's I couldn't even begin to say what's the strangest thing that's ever happened, because everything has happened.
Have you ever had a
Um,
fan make something really handcrafted, like a macaroni portrait of your face or something that's and like something like that? That's kind of what I was picturing, you know.
yeah, well, and people give us like paintings that they've made that are beautiful.
Wow.
Um, and what I love though is when people give you a drawing that they've obviously worked really, really hard on, and it's just not very flattering. And so you get this pencil drawing, and it sort of looks like you, but it's like post car accident or something.
Mm.
But it's not their fault, right? They're probably just not. You know what I mean?
And
Right?
they're so excited to give it to you. So you
Yeah.
just have to be excited to receive it and be gracious, and then bring it back to the dressing room and go, guys, look at this.
Wow.
It's kind of a wonderful moment. But I love that people are inspired to make us things and give us gifts. It's really beautiful.
You know, when I'm preparing for these shows, there's some obvious questions that pop into my head, and I'm writing notes. And for whatever reason, the first thing that popped into my head when I was getting questions together for your interview was, I don't think I've ever seen the movie Frantic, and I don't know, um, you know, if I'm like, that's a really good famous movie. And then I was texting with one of my friends from high school last night, and she was like, wouldn't that be wild if Ed had never actually seen Frantic and he had just seen the movie poster and this lyric that's like a centerpiece of one of their famous songs, he never saw Frantic. So that I just wanted to assure the authenticity of the song that you've actually seen the movie Frantic.
I have indeed. I'm a total movie nerd. And I was actually studying film in university when I got offered a record deal and dropped out. Um, I just thought of a sweet story about something crazy that happened that I can
Go,
tell you
go for
that I love. We did a benefit show years ago now, 3 years ago, I think, for a wonderful organization just north of Toronto called the ABLE Network, ABLE. And it was started by a guy I know. And what they do is they provide meaningful employment for adults with mental disabilities. Um, and so we agreed to do this benefit show for the ABLE Network because I think it's great. It's, you go into a coffee shop and there's maybe an adult with Down syndrome is serving the coffee or whatever it is. I think it's a wonderful thing. So we agreed to do this show. Shortly after the show, I started getting emails from this woman named Meredith, who is one of the Able Network participants. And she was on the board to help organize the show. And Meredith started writing to me after the show. And every email I got from her was a fucking delight.
Hmm.
And so I started writing back and forth with Meredith, and she was recommending movies to me, and I was recommending movies to her. And finally, like 8 months into us writing back and forth, my friend Phil said, he called me, he goes, "Oh my God, Ed, I'm so sorry. I'm embarrassed. I just found out Meredith got your email after the Able Network show and that she's been personally emailing you. I'm sorry, I'll put a stop to it right away." And I said, "Phil, don't you dare stop Meredith from writing to me. They are the best emails I get. I look forward to every single one of them." And so since Meredith has become like a good pal and a nonstop pen pal for me, and it's just a delight. And that's the greatest part about being in a rock band. It's
Yeah.
like we get to do all this glamorous shit all the time, and it's great, and rock star shit. But when you can like help out a community initiative and just do something that's just good for people and good for your local community, and then it has these ripples that go out from that just enrich me, and I just love it. So there you go. There's a crazy sweet thing that happened.
I feel like I should be helping out people more or something after hearing that. I feel kind of
You should be.
inadequate. Thanks for shaming me, Ed. Yeah, yeah. Um, I don't want to get into the. I'm not. This isn't a. We're not trying to spill tea here, but um, was transitioning to having a different co-lead singer, was that easy? Was it hard? Did you know him before? Like, what was that experience like to go through that process?
Well, when we parted ways, we had been working together for 20 years. We wrote so many great songs. We did so many great shows. We grew up together. Um, we went to like grade school and high school together, so we had a communal kind of understanding. We learned to write songs together. We learned to do shows together. And then there just came a point where we couldn't work together anymore. The relationship just, it went from firing on all cylinders to not firing at all. And it was really difficult, when you've grown up with someone and experienced that much together and done so much good work. It was really difficult to admit that we really had to go separate ways. Once that happened, though, it was kind of like, though the band had lost something and I had lost something, we gained other things. The other guys, the remaining guys in the band, started contributing more. They started singing more. There was more space. There was more room for them. Not just, I mean, it's true that there was physically more room for them on the stage because Steve and I weren't taking up the whole front of the stage, but there was more room emotionally and more room creatively for the other guys in the band. So it was a difficult transition, but it was a change and a growth moment that was really awesome for the band, and we became something else. And Steve and I worked together for 20 years. It's been almost 20 years since we parted ways, and I'm really proud of what the band's become and how we do things now. It's still informed by that 20 years that happened before that. But yeah, we kind of do everything differently now. And as formative as those early years were, that change was incredibly demanding and transformative for us.
Wow. That's such an adult answer. Like this isn't the 80s when people used to just throw middle fingers up to their ex bandmates, you know.
That's
What?
25 years of therapy talking, guys.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I I want to say I think one of my favorite songs of yours is um you know thanks, that was fun, and that was
Mm.
on your greatest hits album, I believe. And I just
Yeah.
wanted to give you props for, I think one of the riskiest things to do in pop music is to record is that new song that goes on the greatest hits album that's the record company wants for the single. And if that single doesn't hit, you have this kind of weird, like, what the hell is this song at the end of your greatest hits album? So that must have felt like, I think that would be a relief when that actually became a hit and it kind of fit in with the rest of the songs.
Yeah. And the video was cool too. It was
Yeah, I
like
remember it. Yeah.
pretty early in the technological ability to like replace our mouths on old videos and make it look like it was the video for the new song. It was pretty cool. And you know, we recorded that with Jim Scott, who we had done Maroon with. So yeah, I'm proud of that song. I remember a moment. It's funny because we were in the studio recording the bridge to that song, and I remember Steve said, "I don't know, it kind of reminds me of the Eagles," and I was like,
Mm.
"Yeah, you know who's fucking awesome?
You
The Eagles."
know who had a ton of hit songs? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we used to butt heads on stuff like that because
Yeah.
he was much more indie cred guy, and I was more like, let's blow this thing up with
Well, you were like
harmony.
the rock and roll version of Outcast, you know.
Yeah,
You were
yeah,
Andre 3000, a big boy, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, man. I love that song. Thank you. Yeah, a guy in a Canadian band called the Arkells told me recently that when he started playing, like when he first started performing live, he used to cover "Thanks, That Was Fun." And
Yeah. And I
it was
also
really
like those songs that are like sort of bittersweet and like a little bit melancholy, but also I like those kind of mixed. Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah. There's a lot of melancholy in our catalog, and I like it too.
yeah. Yeah. And so is it weird that, yeah, let's say like, do you wish that there was another song besides One Week that was your biggest song? Is that kind of an annoying one to have, or
I
that?
love that song.
All
it's
right.
it's still like that song's 27 years old, and it still keeps getting referenced on late night talk shows and animated series. And every time it comes across my it comes across my desk for a request to sync it or whatever, I'm like, yes, no problem. Yes, yes. Not even. It's not even the money. Like those, they're small amounts for the like for it to be included in a joke on a late night show. Most of the time at our expense, and I just
Yeah.
approve it every time.
It's funny you say at your expense because I remember when that song came out, people were giving you a hard time for the verses and acting like as if you were trying to seriously rap. And I was like,
Yeah,
guys, like, I don't know why this is very specific, but I remember there was an interview with Garbage, the band Garbage, and they played some hit songs for the band to react to, and they were kind of like making fun of the rap part, and I was like, he's not trying to be Ice Cube, you know. I
yeah,
think what did Snow ruin white rapping for all Canadians for the rest of eternity? You know, like I
yeah.
don't.
I don't know. It's that kind of ridiculous freestyling is what I'd been doing in every show since the first Barenaked Ladies show. So it was like it was natural to us, But as I said, I didn't expect it to even be on the record, let alone be the lead off single and then a number one international hit. So, you know, we probably would have been like more careful about how we presented ourselves, but that song being so ridiculous and so off the wall, it kind of freed us up in a lot of ways. You know, it makes so little sense and it's so bombastic that I still love playing that song every night.
Were the verses written almost as a freestyle in 5 minutes, or were they?
It was a freestyle. I had a little hi8 recorder and I pressed record and I freestyled 5 verses and I culled the best of the 5 verses. In fact, I think on the original release, we included some of the extra verses that we thought were funny in the liner notes, in the lyrics.
And do the alternative verses sometimes come out in shows? Or you just do the straight record recorded?
Yeah.
Okay.
The song is so difficult to perform. Like I can't even let my mind wander for a second.
And that's one thing that I admire about your approach to songwriting now. Like in Flight, you've embraced middle age. You're not trying to be, a young, edgy person.
Well, write what you know, I guess is what they say. And I'm a 54-year-old man. And, I don't have any more kids. I have adults. My kids are 22, 25, and 29. And they're wonderful humans, and I get to bounce ideas off of them. And yeah, it's just where I am. I'm thinking about a long career. I'm thinking about a fortunate life. I'm thinking about the grind of touring. I'm thinking about, it's funny. I was, for years you ruminate on the idea of being able to talk to the 15-year-old version of yourself and tell them how amazing your life is going to be. Like, God, I wish I could say to that kid, stick with it. It's going to work out. It's going to be amazing. It's going to all be worth it. And then I was joking with a friend of mine the other day. Imagine you could go back to the 15-year-old version of yourself and tell them all your dreams are going to come true. You're going to play sold out arenas all over the world. And you're not going to believe this, but there's going to be times when you do not feel like it. When you're going to be so burnt out that you're just like, nah, I just kind of want to stay in bed. I don't want to go play for 10,000 people. That was an interesting corner to turn, and to reinforce to yourself, man, you are fucking lucky you get to do this still. You get to do it to the point where you're burnt out. Like, that's ridiculous. That's when you have to remind yourself of that 15-year-old who would give anything to play for a room of 50 people, let alone 50,000 people. It's crazy. It's a bizarre life, but you can only have the experience you're having. When you're at an airport at 5 a.m, barely alive, it's hard to focus on how great the show is going to be that night, because that show is 5 time zones away and you're really tired.
Yeah. Wow. I feel pumped up. I feel like I'm ready to yeah.
It's reality, man.
You gave me the Newt Rockney experience I was looking for. Yeah. All right, Ed. We'll let you go. Thanks so much for joining us on the show. The tour kicks off on what day? I believe I can't. I'll look.
It kicks off June 3rd.
Okay.
June 3rd in Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia.
And goes all the way to the beginning of August.
Okay. what we're looking forward to. Thank you so much, Ed. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Nice talking to you both.